Tonight, one of the most controversial tactics in the war on terror survives a Supreme Court challenge, abducting terror suspects and sending them to another country for intense interrogation, what critics call torture. I'm Katie Couric. Also tonight, a debut debate for Fred Thompson.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. A big victory for President Bush today. The Supreme Court refused to hear a challenge to one of the weapons his administration's been using in the war on terror, a program in which terror suspects are picked up and sent to foreign countries for interrogation that critics say amounts to torture. The Bush administration argued successfully that hearing the case of an alleged victim would reveal national security secrets. We have two reports tonight, beginning with Wyatt Andrews.
They
were wearing black masks and black gloves.
Khalid El-Masri is a German citizen who put a face on the CIA practice of rendition. Rendition meaning the kidnapping and handing over of terror suspects for harsh interrogation in secret overseas prisons. El-Masri told Scott Pelley of 60 Minutes how his rendition began.
They took me to this room and they hit me all over and they slashed my clothes with sharp objects.
But El-Masri was the wrong man, and now, despite massive global publicity, despite European investigations documenting his claims, the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear his case because the Bush administration argues it's all still secret, that El-Masri's case could be made only with evidence that exposes how the CIA organizes its most sensitive intelligence operations.
What happened to him was lawless.
El-Masri's attorneys at the ACLU complained that federal courts have rolled over in this case, accepting the government's word with no further review that state secrets were on the line.
You allowed the government to essentially prevent the courts from ever independently reviewing the legality of the government's conduct.
It's a victory for an administration trying to protect frontline warriors from lawsuits, but civil libertarians see a longer-term threat. The fear is, if the most publicly discussed rendition case can't go to court because it's secret, then almost anything can be secret. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News at the Supreme Court.
This is David Martin. In a message meant to reassure CIA employees, Director Michael Hayden says fewer than 100 terrorists have been held in the agency's secret prisons. Fewer than a third of those were subjected to what he calls special methods of interrogation, what others have called torture.
Intelligence they've produced is absolutely irreplaceable. It's been crucial in giving us a better understanding of the enemy we face, as well as leads on taking other terrorists off the battlefield.
Hayden didn't mention it, but the most notorious interrogation technique, so-called waterboarding, which makes a person feel like he's drowning, was used on 3 prisoners, including Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of 9/11.
The CIA no longer resorts to waterboarding, but its secret prisons and other coercive interrogation techniques are still in use.
A year ago, President Bush announced all 14 high-ranking terrorists then held by the CIA had been transferred to military custody at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. The CIA's prisons in Afghanistan and other countries were empty, but only temporarily.
More high-ranking terrorists are captured. The need to obtain intelligence from them will remain critical.
Within a few months of that speech, a senior al-Qaeda leader named Hadi al-Iraqi was captured and held for several months by the CIA before he too was transferred to Guantanamo. How many, if any, terrorists are being held by the CIA today is what the Bush administration calls a state secret. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
In this country, American Electric Power brings electricity to millions of customers in nearly a dozen states, but the government says it also produces something else, pollution. And today, the company agreed to pay more than $4.5 billion to settle a case, the biggest environmental settlement ever. AEP will also pay $60 million in cleanup costs. Tonight, a look at the case and its impact, beginning with Cynthia Bowers.
It took an 8-year court battle, but today one of the nation's largest and biggest polluting power companies has agreed to clean up its act.
This is truly an historic day for clean air in the United States.
According to the settlement,